Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Man, so I was searching on Reverb a couple of days ago, and I ran across what I am going to call the least desirable Les Paul custom ever made. We're talking the worst of the worst specs, all blended together. On a Les Paul custom, that just makes me feel so bad for it, because at the time, you know, it was kind of something inventive and cool, but looking back on it now, man, this thing is a mess. Okay, so here it is. Gibson Les Paul Custom 2012 Silverburst. I know, we've been talking about Silverbursts quite a lot, but I guarantee you've never seen a Silverburst custom quite like this one. First things first, Silverburst Les Paul Custom with gold hardware. How many times have you seen this? I mean, occasionally you'll find it stock on an 80s one, but traditionally you have nickel or chrome hardware on these guys. And that's mainly because gold kind of clashes with the whole Silverburst vibe. And in my opinion, while it's not traditional, sometimes it can work. But let's do a little bit more digging on here. Look at our fretboard. It's rosewood. Rosewood is not what you typically find on a Les Paul custom, but you have to remember historical things are happening right now because this is a 2012, that big first official year when ebony was just not able to be used by Gibson. 2011 kind of starts that rich light era. So from 2011 until the end of 2019, ebony really wasn't a thing except for on a few very special limited edition runs, or if somebody wanted to pay a bunch of money through the made to measure program, if Gibson could get it. So during this time, they experimented with alternatives. Like, some people didn't like rich light because it's not technically wood, so they would go with rosewood, because, I mean, at least it's real wood. Other people would go with, like, baked maple. Sometimes you'll actually find legit maple fretboards. I mean, there's a bunch of different options you can do besides ebony. But this is one of those ones that opted for real wood, and it just kind of clashes with that Silverburst finish, and we already had this weird clash with the gold hardware. But what if I told you it gets even worse? Typically, Silverburst fans love the finish because you get the burst on the front, the back, the sides, the back of the neck, the sides of the headstock, everywhere on this thing. But our third terrible spec, it's a dark back. Oh man, I love this thing because it is so non-traditional. It's so undesirable. It's kind of become ironically desirable in my opinion. Now, you could get really fancy and creative because the very first Silverburst Les Paul Custom was a black back like this. It did not have any bursting anywhere else. So you could argue that this is, being historically accurate for the prototype Silverburst Les Paul Custom, but for everyone else, it's just such an oddball mixture of specs. Who is thinking of this thing? Well, let's take a look back here anyways. It looks like gold Grover tuners. I mean, the gold doesn't look too bad on the back here. It matches that Gibson custom emblem, our serial number being custom shop 2182, looks like maybe a 1. Honestly, from this photo, I don't think the gold hardware looks that bad. It's just not traditional. Oh, and in case things weren't weird enough here, take a close look at that bridge. It's an ABR1, and if you look at your knobs, witch hats. So is this technically a 74 Les Paul Custom reissue? I'm very curious if this has a long neck tenon, because it could either be a 74 or a 68 based on the fact that it has the ABR1 bridge, unless this was some sort of a custom order. So how much are they asking for this very undesirably spec'd Les Paul Custom? That's kind of cool at the same time. $3,395, $97 shipping. I mean, to be honest, that's not a bad price, especially if they were to pop that neck pickup out and see if it has a long neck tenon. I mean, the COA just calls it a regular Les Paul Custom, but I think it's something maybe a little bit more here. And with the vintage Silverburst being crazy in price, if you don't mind all the freaky specs, that really is a fair price, believe it or not. So let's see, does our description tell us anything interesting that we don't already know just by looking at it? 2012 Silverburst, 100% original, no fretwear, good integrity. They're saying that the Rosewood Fretboard gives the instrument warmer tone. The tone wood debate's kind of interesting on electric guitars. But as far as the weight, that's pretty manageable, 9.5 pounds about. Looks like we got the 490R, 498T humbuckers. I'm okay with those. But it doesn't look like it gives us the neck tenon information. But you do get the cool custom shop lift-in reissue case. So I'm curious to hear from you guys about this one. Do you think this is the most undesirable Les Paul custom ever spec'd out? I mean, Rosewood Fretboard, gold hardware, black back. I mean, if somebody asked me to create the worst Silverburst custom in existence, this is exactly how I would spec it out too. But that said, I do love it at the same time. It's kind of quirky. But this one is being offered by Moe's Guitars. If we wouldn't play it, we wouldn't sell it. Let's see what else they're selling today, because I think we've got a couple more minutes we need to fill up here. Looks like as far as the Gibson things go, I would say the most interesting thing would either be between this guy and this one. You can actually find Les Paul standards from the late 80s with this exact finish. They kind of started white, but then they turned a creamish color. So you kind of get this double creamed out vibe going on with the binding. They're kind of interesting guitars, not necessarily my favorite, but this appears to be a custom shop 57 reissue, just in a special color. So those can sell for a pretty good amount of money, usually anywhere between like $3,000 to $3,800. But the newer ones can definitely go for more. And as far as Fender territory here, I would say the most interesting thing in their shop would have to be this custom shop Champagne Sparkle from 1994. That's quite the finish on a Stratocaster. I haven't been featuring many Fenders lately, simply because I've kind of fallen out of love with them. I kind of had that phase where it's like Fender this, Fender that. I was having a real great time doing it. But then it's like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of talking about Fenders. Like, I still plan to finish out some of the brand new ones that I had pre-ordered from that Parallel Universe series, but they've been so slow in coming out. And as of right now, I think I only have like 2 or 3 Fender guitars on me currently. But yeah, Champagne Sparkle, kind of pinkish. I do like the neck on this one. It's got a light figuring to it, but nothing that I would really personally consider owning. I guess since we're talking about Silverburst guitars again today, why don't we choose the winner for the 10S GF Silverburst giveaway? So the rules for this one were kind of interesting, because it's not just a random comment selection like we normally do. I just asked you to leave a comment of your favorite 10S model and finish. I did it that way because, you know, that could be like some market research for 10S, right? And I said either they or I would pick a winner from the comments, so it's not just random. Ultimately, I decided I'm going to choose a winner. That way, you know, 10S doesn't choose one of their own employees or something. Not that they would, but let's go ahead and go through these and pick one. That's a pretty good joke right there. See, when I filmed this, I actually didn't look up what they called it. I just thought it was like a single cut, but it's called a GF, which is an abbreviation for girlfriend, just in case you don't know. But let's go ahead and check out what they do have on their Reverb shop inventory. The initial custom spec guitar that we were kind of flirting with doing was one of these baritones, because I mean, that's an okay value for a baritone that's a single cut, but I wanted it to be white, kind of like a Buckethead clone. But that just didn't end up happening. That's why we eventually went with the Silverburst. But being able to get that baritone single cut, that's pretty cool. I noticed a lot of people kind of like this old Blackie relic. I guess I just don't know enough about that one to really care about it. I'm not one that's really big into these, you know, more metal shreddery guy type stuff. The crackle finish is pretty cool though. And this one kind of reminds me of that Gold Rush Les Paul. And a lot of people were also talking about this Metallica one. $788, that's pretty expensive, but you know, it's a flying V. Do they actually have real EMGs in here? Yeah, EMG HZ pickups. Now, I'm sure this one just costs a little bit more because that is a lot of work that has to go into aging that thing. And this one was kind of interesting too. But what is the random one that I am going to select? And then whoever left the first comment about that one, that's who's going to win the Silverburst 10S. Looks like we got a cool Explorer, some type of a headless travel base maybe. I really like the look of this one too. That's pretty cool for $419. But that looks like all the 10S offerings on Reverb. So if you are interested in one of their guitars, I mean, this particular video is not sponsored by them, but check out their Reverb shop and you can buy directly from them right there. But let's see who said that this one was their favorite. All right, and who was the very first one to say that that was their favorite? There we go. It looks like Tippy Tail McKitty is going to be the winner of the 10S Silverburst guitar. I kind of like that username, Tippy Tail McKitty. The only question left, would you rock the black back Silverburst Rosewood Fretboard Custom or not? Leave your answer down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.